And we're back. Pulp Culture Conversations, episode 4. And Secret Invasion, episode 4. We started at the same time. So, let's get our quick impressions. Bone?
I would say that some of the acting is really, really great. I think that there's a scene and interaction between Fury and his wife in the beginning, and then towards the middle of the show. It's really great. I would say that I don't like to be a negative person. I don't like to, trash things. So I'm struggling to find great things to say about the show. Some of the cinematography is great. Like whenever they're focusing on Fury in the background of blurry, that's a really nice thing, It's like the camera work is really great.
So the episode was shorter than the other episodes. Without getting into too many details, I liked the episode to the point that there was one piece that I expected, and it came the way I expected it to be. Going into your conversation last time about believability and non-believability, this episode had some points that were just stupid, just over the top stupid to me, like really stupid, and which we'll get into as we talk about the show. Like I said last time, they're running out of characters. They're running out of characters quickly, and to me, it's looking like this only has one possible ending. The way this is, I can only see one ending for this, and I'm so far 4 episodes in, and I'm not. I really hope the next 2 episodes are better than that episode.
I don't understand where all this hate is coming from, man. I thought it was a great episode. I mean, listen, I would it was a little longer. Okay, I'm going to focus on talking slower. I would it was a little longer, but I thought it was a great episode. Obviously, like everybody a lot of the theories were out there about Gaia, and that came true pretty quickly. And like we were right that there was no way they were going to end that character off. And then obviously Rhodey being a Skrull. And that's why I'd said, because the way they've been setting it up, where the last one they set it up like, oh, is he a Skrull? And then they verified it in this one that probably next week they're going to show when he was replaced, at what point he was replaced, and we'll probably get that verification. And then there was a nice little action scene there. I mean, it was the plot is moving fairly slowly. That's true, but I don't know. I liked it. I'm not like it's not the best thing Marvel's put out, but it's watched. Like I would watch it again. Like I would watch it. Like it's a watchable series to me. Like I enjoy it. Like it's not. Like it's not as like I'm not like on the edge of my seat like I am with some of the other things they've done. It isn't as massively eliciting of emotion and like as crazy enjoyable as some of the, but it's better than a lot of the other ones. I'm surprised at some of the ratings because like it's better than stuff like the She-Hulk and the Marvel and all the stuff they were doing there to me. So I'm curious what were the things that you thought were just like absolutely stupid?
Do you remember whenever he used the Groot power to grab the guy? Well, first of all, that whole scene, the way it's set up, it's like everyone is 100 feet from each other. There's 45 guys with guns, and they're all like the guy goes, he holds the rifle, he's all, Fury's here, and when he could have just shot him right there, he's got the gun, he's like looking, he's like, oh, Fury's here, and meanwhile, Fury gets away, he could have just shot him. It's like all these, the whole scene, the way it's set up. Because look, I understand when you have a small amount of money for a show, you have to make some sacrifices. But it seems like this company should have been able to film that scene to make it look like it was somewhat believable. I mean, the president of the United States is just going through the Black Forest of Germany, just lollygagging around, and there's like a helicopter strolls up. I mean, it's like you would think about this, right? Fury knows that the Gravik has the powers, right? Because he stabbed him in the hand. And so the Fury's the guy who foresaw...
No, Talos stabbed him in the hand.
Was it Talos? Okay,
and he wasn't there for when he healed, so he doesn't know that he has the powers. We know that he has
this
the
is where
powers.
Bones' memory fails.
Talos doesn't have the powers. So
Talos never told him that.
no, Talos doesn't know he has the powers.
Okay, so that makes sense. Then that was a
Okay, see,
misunderstanding.
this is honestly like respectfully, it feels kind of like nitpicking because to me, there's a lot of series where convoys with the president, special convoys, are driving somewhere and a helicopter and a group comes and attacks them. To me, the more question, like the questions a person would be having, I understand is like, but if you're coming in with a group of Skrulls, you know, you're gonna recognize that if there's any sort of resistance, one body's gonna get left at some point. So you're kind of that part to me. If you're coming in that direction, that part to me is like there's other scenes. There have been a couple of scenes that I could that you haven't said anything about. You haven't said about, like the scene that I saw in that direction, like the scene when in one of the past episodes when Gaia breaks into the place and she walks with the two guards and she attacks the one guard. And the one guard just kind of stands there until she's done, and then he swings his gun at her, and she grabs his gun. And like, there's some scenes like that. So it's like, and y'all haven't mentioned those, but that are where I get where it's like choreographed. To this one, to me, I mean, I didn't see it that way. Like you know, when we had watched it, it's like, it's not crazy to me that there's a vehicle with the anti aircraft weapon in the convoy of the president. It's not crazy to me. They're trying to prevent a war, so they're driving to, and the president does travel like that. They're driving to meet with the Russian Federation, so delegation. So to me, respectfully, it feels almost at points. It feels almost like nitpicking because I don't see it that way. I don't see it as being out of the ordinary, out of the show. I personally do think that there is a lot of talking. There's a lot of like just slow moments. Great acting, but there's a lot of talking. But I didn't see it that way as a massively unbelievable scene.
So so the beginning with Gaia, when they show the flashback of her getting the extremist powers, and that kind of cemented the fact that she obviously wasn't dead, and maybe it was the first time she had used the powers, which is why it dropped her as fast in the end of the last episode. That was fine. I expected that. The Don Cheadle character, obviously he's a Skrull working for Gravik, and he walks up and is like, yeah, kill Fury, or one of the two people in that house are getting a bullet. So I was like, all right, so that was just like we talked about. He's a Skrull. He's obviously a bad guy. So that didn't bother me either. And I like the way they did the stuff with Fury and his wife and how they were kind of reconciled at the end of that. Then it goes to Gaia and Telos, and they have their conversation. And Gaia's obviously thinks her dad's entire plan is BS. And be honest with you, if that's the entire plan that Telos has for the remainder of the Skrull people is, well, we're just going to keep doing what we've been doing, which hasn't worked since 1995, and we're in the same spot we've been in, and the one person that was on our side is wanted number one. I mean, that's a pipe dream. We saved you. Give us a little province or an island or a city or something, or help it. I agree with Gaia. That was stupid. They could have. It's almost like it was a cop out in that. Then, when you move past that, and you get to the point where I thought the Fury thing, dropping the serum or whatever to be able to track Rhodey was cool. That way they'd have an idea of where it was going. And Don Cheadle's the Rhodes Skrull is just sitting in the car for the entire combat sequence of the Secret Service and this Russian air assault that's taking place in England, by the way, not the Black Forest of Germany. But and I'm like, I will say that the pop-up anti-aircraft missile launcher in the back of the one truck was, to me, I was like, really? That's silly. But again, like you were saying, if it's the president of the United States in England, there would be some sort of air cover if they had some long drive to make. And I'm like, where are they going? I'm like, who knows where they were going? Because they obviously landed at an Air Force base and were going somewhere. But just that whole scene then, when Gravik uses the powers to kill the one guy, I'm like, all right, well, you're obviously not the Russians now, so your whole plan to pretend to be the Russians is bogus because you're not the Russians. You're obviously not. And you're not killing everybody here, so somebody's going to be there. And all the dead scrolls that are now littering your side that you left behind. So part of the whole concept of these movies and TV shows is suspending your disbelief to enjoy something. But there are so many plot holes.
So, okay, it is, to me, it was weird to pull out the group powers and only kill one guy. that was kind of weird. I think that, but listen, okay, I think that there's to me, in what you said, there are plot holes and the things that aren't plot holes there. Like the whole rocket in the back of the truck thing. I think you're completely off on that. They showed that from the beginning. So from the beginning when they drove off, you could see that. So it wasn't like it was hidden and it popped up. From the beginning, you could see that. And I don't think that's unrealistic and insane, considering the remote control weapons we have. The air support might be a point. And they do eventually get the air support because, as you saw in the end, the helicopters run up. And then I think because he jumps out and does the Groot thing after he realizes Nick Fury showed up, because Nick Fury knows about him. So once Nick Fury shows up, that's when he stepped down and did the Groot thing. But again, I do agree with certain the aspects of the plot holes there, as far as obviously the president's going to be in an armed convoy and you show up with Skrulls. The probability is you're planning to take them all with you and kill everybody in there, but it doesn't seem likely. It does seem pretty dumb, like we talked about. His plan, is his plan. His plan sometimes there are these holes there, right? But I do think that it is on the other side. When you have the series like this, it needs some action. It needs that. So there are points there. I get that. You have points, which as far as there are some plot holes there, and really that whole setup wasn't really set up. That whole fight wasn't really set up that well. Outside of we had all the stuff going on, and then we basically come into the president's here. Oh, he's going to do a negotiation. We don't know where that is. We don't know all the information. It just kind of popped up that, Nick Fury finds out last minute because he doesn't know. He's following Rhodey, and then because you see he's following Rhodey and the convoy, and then he hears and he pulls off and speeds off, and so he didn't know that there was a plan to attack the president.
So that's the next piece. Rhodey sat in the back of that convoy, never got out of the car, and just sat there for the whole thing. That ended with Nick Fury and the president and Fury's car. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if Fury drives off with the president.
No, I think that's his obvious.
I think that because I think at this point he knows that James Rhodes is a Skrull, and he's out to kill him. The president, they obviously were trying to either kidnap the president or kill him. They were trying to kill the president and make it look like the Russians did it to start the war. So, I get it, but at this point, when you don't have Nick Fury's not going to fight Gravik hand to hand. It's Gaia and Gravik. That's what it's going at. It's going there, and especially with Gravik killing Telos. I mean, it's the next episode is all the chips are on the table. The president's going to come to speed, and everybody's going to start realizing what's going on.
And then a showdown in episode 6.
Gaia's somehow going to show up out of nowhere, or she's going to hunt down Gravik, and there's going to be some big combat scene that builds toward this last episode like you were talking about before. But so far, it's not really going... This episode didn't go the way I thought it was going to go. I really thought it was going to keep going toward them grabbing more control over the narrative. And it feels like to me that what they had done in the first 3 episodes, building this momentum toward Gravik's people having this tight net grip of control, I feel like they just wasted it. They just played their hand and they just, we shot our wad and we lost.
If you're looking at a show called Secret Invasion, and so it was a secret invasion. They showed up, 1 million of them, and nobody knew, and that's the whole thing. It's like, why, I don't understand why you're off trying to grab the president. You have a Skrull in the White House, so why not just replace the president? Have somebody else replace this close, one of the Secret Service agents, and replace the president when no one's looking. It's like, it's like, for example, you were talking about nitpicking, and I could see how, because that is a fair point, because it can get to be nitpicking. And let's say, for example, the Hawkeye series. I really liked it, and I don't know many people that liked it. The She-Hulk, I watched the first episode. I just couldn't watch the rest of it. It wasn't for me. And maybe, Drake, you've talked about how it's very similar to the comics, right? And I think a lot of people missed that, because if you don't, it's difficult to even get in the mindset of a writer adapting a work of another writer if you don't know that original work. And so I fully understand that. And so some of the things, for example, you talked about not noticing particular things. Like I didn't notice that particular scene you were talking about. But, typically when I watch something, I watch it in different levels. Sometimes I watch things more than once, and I look for different things. But it just, to me, becomes so glaring and so unavoidable that I find myself distracted for the reason that you mentioned, the plausible suspension of disbelief. It's so, and maybe it's just because I'm not invested in any of these characters, and I don't think that that's necessarily my fault, because you're not going to find 20 million, 100 million hardcore Secret Invasion fans that are just going to be like, oh, I loved it, it was great. So you got to be playing to someone who maybe doesn't know what they're looking at and what they're watching. And I just say that the way that it's put together just doesn't give someone, a passing fan, which I would consider myself a little more than that, doesn't give me anything to, because man, look, I've watched a lot of stupid stuff. Babylon 5, remember that? Remember back in the day? I liked that show, and I don't know anyone that liked that show. And so I just think that as a showrunner, a writer, a director, you gotta have more.
I have a roommate that really liked Babylon 5. But I like for the show, I'm gonna watch to the end of the show. And it's a Marvel show with Marvel stuff in it. And I really like the Skrulls. And for what it is, for a TV show, it's entertaining. For us giving our opinion and where we're at and how it stacks up with other Marvel stuff that we've seen and what Marvel's capable of.
Maybe we should do in the future, do a ranking.
Of TV shows.
Well, series and that's just Marvel, not Star Wars. Just
yeah.
Marvel itself, the Marvel universe. Do a ranking.
But I just, at this point, I know that the word is that they want to use the Emilia Clarke Gaia character and use her further past this. So they've set that up where you're setting up this big confrontation where they can move her forward in the Marvel MCU, which is great. Where they brought Fury to this point, I don't know where they go with Fury after this. That's like, I mean, he is, unless in the next 2 episodes, he becomes like the man and saves the day. And I mean, he did kind of ride in on a shining horse there at the end and pull the president's butt out of the fire.
I just want to say really quickly, for example, right? If you were going to shoot that scene with all this stuff going on, why not film it at night? You can shoot it during the day, so it's not all that expensive to do it with night filming, and then adjust it and make it look like it was nighttime. And then your perspective of how close everything is. I mean, I'm just thinking, be a little bit more imaginative.
There was one piece of comedy.
It was like whenever Fury was carrying the president who's totally passed out, and he's just like holding him and he's kind of stumbling along, and then he flops over in his seat like he's. That part?
That was entertaining. No, when Telos is half Skrull, half human, and the one SAS guy's like, he's an alien, shoot him, and I'm like, really? Just out of the blue looks over, look, it's an alien, we should shoot him. I'm like, and Fury's like, no, he's with me, and everybody's like, oh, okay. And he goes right back to. I was like, I mean, I'm not saying it It was hilarious.
It was laughable. It was like, it just totally, I'm like, I find myself going, what is going on here?
I'm like, yeah. But the thing that they didn't do at that point was there should have been scroll bodies littering the ground at that point. You had two helicopters that come down with scrolls in it. You had scrolls getting killed left and right, shot, and unless they all are super scrolls at this point. And right now, all I know of is Gravik and Guy are the only two that are super scrolls at this point.
Doc, do you remember in, I think it was, it was Endgame, when Spider-Man has the gauntlet, right? And he's getting his butt kicked, right? And it's like he huddles down like she's shell shocked. It's like that was done so well. I know it was cinema, and so I don't really know what it goes into doing the versus TV versus, but I just think with a little bit more forethought, with a little bit more, you could have done a lot better with it. Because I don't enjoy, like if you made a movie and I didn't like it, I'm not going to enjoy coming up to you and saying, hey man, I really don't like your film. You know, I don't enjoy that. It's like when y'all have me start out, I'm like, I don't want to be the first one to throw a grenade because I want to like it. I want to enjoy it. I really do. Why wouldn't I not want to enjoy it?
Well, there you go.